We got a real treat today. The great Kara Swisher. I just called her kid off camera, and she said I can't call her kid, so I'll call her the great Kara Swisher instead of kid. And she's of course the host with On with Kara Swisher that drops Mondays and Tuesdays, and co-host with my friend Scott Galloway on the Pivot podcast, which drops Tuesdays and Fridays. I had that hooligan Galloway on a few weeks ago.
I heard. He told me.
He said something, and I posted it,
Yeah.
and I actually took it down because I was starting to get so much shit. Basically, we were talking, and he said he started out with, men, and I agree with everything he said. We were men don't like sensitive women. What he meant was men want. I mean, women don't want sensitive men. They want men who can make decisions. He heard his son asking for a date, saying, "Where do you want to go?" The wrong way to do it. And then I got all this shit. Two guys talking about what women want. Why can't guys have a perspective? Or like, I mean, he's right. He's right, by the way.
Because it was vaguely stupid. I don't know. Scott. What problem with Scott is he has a communications problem as a marketing guy. Sometimes he says these broad. He does it all the time on the show, and basically, if you want the formula for that show, is Scott says something stupid,
and you smack him around.
I hit him real hard, then out pops an insight that's so smart everyone forgets the stupid.
So he needs a whooping first, and then he comes to his senses.
He needs a lady whooping. And so, like, if he said something like that to me, I'd be like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like he makes these vast generalizations, and then and then he goes, "Oh, I got
so excited," and the reason I took it because I didn't want him getting shit on something that I'm posting, but I was cackling and giggling and saying exactly what. And within seconds, I had 10 women posting. Who the fuck are you guys to say what women want? I was like, maybe this is not a good thing, you know.
I mean, he did something about men being in the delivery room that also was asinine. And of course, I was literally like, had a baby. We don't want you there anyway, but that's another issue. I didn't have, of course, I'm gay, but he does that all the time. Sometimes he does it. Sometimes he's not thinking clearly. Sometimes he's just trying to troll people. It's a range of reasons. And sometimes he's on an edible and it just pops out of his brain. So. I never do edibles when I do my podcast. I should try and do that one time. That would be fun. See what happens.
So we got so much to talk about.
Yes.
Starting yesterday with your, I don't want to call him your friend, your cohort, Mark Zuckerberg. In court. Fascinating case.
Yeah.
Bring a family brought because a woman or their daughter was addicted, and the way they got around 230 was they made it a product liability case. What did you think of Mr. Zuckerberg's performance yesterday?
I thought it was the same old Mark Zuckerberg. It's the same excuses he was using, the same tone. I mean, it really interesting because someone like Bill Gates evolved. Remember in the monopoly law case, Bill sort of screwed up his testimony when he looked like an arrogant prick. And then
Yes. Yeah.
It was really that was not a jury case either. In this case, I think Mark he has yet to learn how to present himself in a way that isn't just such a jackass. And I think it's really hard for him. And I know he says he has communications problems and this and that, but by this time and this wealthy.
Yeah, you figured out how to communicate at this point.
Right, exactly.
When you want to communicate, you can communicate.
But I think he actually at his heart feels like he has given us God's gift and there's nothing wrong with his beautiful product. And it's either your fault or you're mischaracterizing me. That's his favorite.
Do you think he actually believes that? See, here's my question. And what I don't understand in the guise of human behavior is you're Mark Zuckerberg, you're worth $200 billion or whatever, you could go down in history. Don't you want to be on the good guy side of the ledger? Like, don't you understand? Like, he's not dumb. He understands I'm addicted to this thing. Like, it's like he's around people. He's around other human beings. He knows what his product does.
He's not. He's around, like, look, he's been his team has been around, like, they're all, like, violently in agreement with him almost constantly. You see it all the time. And the ones that disagree tend to get washed out. And one of the things that was interesting in the trial was, they're showing emails from people at the company are like, we need more guardrails. This is unsafe. By the way, there's 4 million kids 10 to 12 on this platform.
Right. 30% of kids between 10 and 12 are on the platform.
Correct. And instead of going, wow, that's a problem and we're not doing a very good job of it, he's like, well, they sneak on or whatever. And there are emails from people inside the company saying this. And ultimately he answered on the stand, and he answers all the time, well, I don't want to do it. I want to do it my way. He's done that over topic after topic. Anti-Semitism. I had an interview with him where I said, Holocaust deniers, you need to get them off. Oh, I believe in free speech. I said, yeah, but you're going to get bad things will happen if you don't have some editorial oversight. And he's like, I value free speech. And I'm like, but it's hate. He just doesn't want to acknowledge everything. I don't think he's a very intellectually rigorous person, and he doesn't understand the connections of what he's making with the damage that he's doing. And he wants no responsibility or accountability for it. Even if it's not, who knows? It's probably a complex situation with this woman. They'll try to paint her as crazy, would be my guess, or that it was her parents, or it was school, or she was wacky, or did drugs, whatever they pull out of the hat. And possibly some of those things are true, but you can also at the same time say social media is very clearly, internal studies show within Facebook that it isolates young men, makes young girls feel bad about themselves, created partisanship, has an addictive tendency. Even if they don't want to use the word addiction, the word they use is, problematic usage. What does that mean? Like, whose problem? Who created the problem? It's such a passive way of talking about a product that is, like the Doritos people do. It's the same difference.
I love the way you call it the attention casino. I thought that was a great set of words. I love that. I saw your interview yesterday on CNN. Yeah. What I'm curious about is when it comes to Trump, and we're watching all these guys kiss his ass, it's kind of pathetic to see. Do they rationalize it that, okay, I'm doing God's work, this is just a speed bump, I have to go around it, and if I get in his way, beyond my obvious statement, it's a fiduciary responsibility of my shareholders, I'm not going to be able to do what I was put on this earth to do. So I'm going to bite the bullet, do what I have to do, and then we'll get to the other side. It's
a little more complex. Years ago, Gates was the original one who was like, I don't deal with Washington, why do I need to? And I was in a meeting with him a long time ago when he was just the world's richest man, and the company was big, but not. It was heading towards that monopoly trial, that trial. And he said, I don't care. I don't even have a lobbyist. I think I have one lawyer I hired, and he lives outside of DC. Like, he bragged about his presence in Washington, his non-interest in regulators. And I looked at him and I said, you know what? This is a city full of ex-student body vice presidents with subpoena power. So they're coming for you, whether you like it or not. And I think they learned that lesson by adding lobbyists and adding, influence peddlers, et cetera, here. And instead of, like, first they were openly disdainful of Washington. Then they're like, oh, it's just easier just to pay them, right? Like, they wanted to change the way it was done, but then they're like, I think we'll just participate and throw money at the problem, which is what they've done. And so I think Trump is as I've coined that term, he's the coin operated president. And therefore it's easy to put a coin in, and they're very comfortable doing that because they'll use shareholder value in the case of Apple.
Sure, of course. Tim Cook to me looks the most pathetic of all. I mean, I agree, because him showing up at that Melania thing. He
doesn't like him.
Of course, he's a gay man. I mean, he's just there's no way.
All manner of reasons. But one of the things, I'm sure he likes some of it, like but the tariffs were too problematic for Apple, and so he had to play the game essentially. And Trump makes it rather easy because it's nothing under the covers. It's just pretty much ideological. There's not an ideological,
purely transactional, right?
It's transactional, and so if that's what it takes, that's what they'll do. And of course they'll do it. And some of them have changed. Sergey Brin, it seems very Trumpy these days, as a MAGA influencer girlfriend. So there's actual change in these people from something that was very liberal, I would say, not liberal, libertarian light, I guess, to this. Some people like a Sam Altman or Tim Cook, I'm sure they just hold their nose and do it. And parts of it they convince themselves they like, and some of it is good for them. And then there's others like Mark, who, honestly, I never knew his politics ever. I don't even know to this day what they are. He was sort of
seems like the kind of guy that like almost doesn't have politics. He's just so consumed in his little, but
I look at his giving, which is, all these people's giving is so minuscule compared to, the ex-wives or widows, right? Whether between Lorraine Powell Jobs and Mackenzie Scott,
isn't that interesting? It's so fascinating.
No, every woman understands it.
Yeah.
Speaking of women knowing better, but they adding up, it's Warren Buffett and those ladies essentially who have been the most generous. But I don't think, I'm trying to think, Mark gave initially to immigration issues to try to help solve what was an intractable problem. And then he gave to Newark education, and that sort of fell apart. And then he had a foundation that was very self-interested, and that fell apart. I think he's I don't think he's particularly interested in
Helping.
society at large. I just don't think he is.
You know,
he never was.
It's interesting. We got to see Zuckerberg, young Zuckerberg, and see his social struggles and how, at least according to that movie, how much that was a driver. Were any of these guys popular? Were any of these guys popular as kids? Or were they all?
I like that movie as a movie, but Mark, his family loves him. He grew up as sort of the toast of the family, and I think he was quite popular within his group. He was. You know, I don't think he suffered the geek thing at all. I think he thought he was pretty cool, and he was the toast of his family. He was the apple of the eye of that family. Yeah. I've been around them, and sort of the chosen.
Randy's a great woman. I love Randy. She's good.
Funny,
she's a good lady.
He has parents that love him very much so. I mean, everyone's a different story. Elon's parent, that's a very different story.
Sure.
Charlie Ellison has a very different story. Steve Jobs has a very different story around that. But, no, I don't think, I think some of them were popular. Steve Jobs certainly was popular. Tim Cook probably, yeah. It looks like he had a lot of friends. Yeah. So I think that trope is not true. Maybe Gates a little bit, but, within his high school, I think he has quite a bit of arrogance that I think doesn't come from being a nerd, and it's a reaction. I think he just was that way.
Let's switch to politics a little bit. Speaking of our friend Donald Trump, I don't think there's enough noise being out there with how concerned people should be for the midterms. I mean, Trump is telegraphing it. He's one thing about Trump. Like him or hate him, what you see is what you get. I mean, and everything, whether it's, raiding the Fulton County, voting rolls, to all of a sudden teeing up Steve Bannon yesterday talking about ICE being on the premises, to talk about, nationalizing elections, taking over the state. Yeah. He's doing it. And I don't understand how, excuse me, more alarm bells are not going off right now.
Oh, I think they are. I don't think that's true at all. I think that I just did a show that published today about every single thing you talked about. I had an election official, I had a lawyer, and I had a journalist who were covering this rather significantly, and we covered every one of those issues. Whether nationalizing elections
is not going to happen, right? Obviously,
not going to happen. He's just him fucking with you.
Right.
Not. He could declare it, but it would be instantly overturned.
Yes.
It would never happen. A lot of what Trump does is he declares things like they're putting back up the slavery exhibits in Philadelphia. They're putting back up this. Nothing ever sticks. And, today they got he packed the U.S. Commission, the Arts Commission in D.C. to approve the ballroom. Guess what? It's coming down the same way. They're going to have another group, and then it's coming down. So I think a lot of his stuff none of it wins in the end. He causes enormous damage along the way. So that one, I don't think that's something to be worried about. I think it's problematic that he's saying it. That gives an intent. With the ICE people, one of the things that the lawyer was saying is there's just too many of them for ICE to get to all of them. There's like 50 or 60 really contested seats, geographically scattered all over the country. They certainly can try. They can try to do that. Much more difficult in execution, and these people are relatively incompetent when it comes to execution, as you've seen, with just a little pushback. And I think the most problematic one is seizing part of one of the things I think they're trying to do is they do expect to lose big, but they'll lose and say it wasn't fair. Like the post stuff is going to be the most important.
Well, absolutely.
I think we should be in anticipation, and there should be poll watchers. And I think the Democrats are preparing for this legally and otherwise, but it's the post part they're trying to make people not believe that elections are legitimate.
Yes, that's the whole game. That's the whole game.
They are compared to previous history in this country, which there has been tons of illegitimate elections. Over the, whether it's New York City and Tammany Hall, look, there's histories of this in our country. But the number of fraudulent elections are so small now. And when they actually take it apart, it shows like 8 people didn't vote right.
0.0002%.
But they're trying to create an idea that it's dangerous, or trying to keep people away, or keep
people away and delegitimize the results, and then the party will start afterwards.
I think the most dangerous part is in the afterwards, unless it's such a blowout that it's impossible to. And I have a feeling it might be.
It should be. Do you feel the Democrats are getting their shit together a little bit? I feel most of what's happening is that Trump is imploding, but I feel the Democrats, which is okay. But what do you see in the Democratic Party that gives you hope that they're kind of finding their way a little bit?
I wouldn't discount these polls. People, you remember Sally, Field. They like me. they hate him. They really hate him. They're tired of him. And you and I go back. I watched all the Apprentices. Like I have this thing that I'm the only person who's watched all the Apprentices and it gives you a unique insight to Donald Trump, even though it was all fake. It still was very, there was a point where something went wrong and the ratings dived. That's where we are in this. Like,
Yes.
Suddenly nobody wanted to watch it, and everyone did want to. It was, people forget how popular that show was.
Did you note my appearances over 3 seasons on The Apprentice?
Yes, of course.
They came to my ad agency,
yes,
and
I know. Right,
that's one of the ways I got to know
We're
Mr.
going to
Trump.
solve this ridiculous fucking problem that is not a real business problem. But one of the things, that I think happens is people get tired of this guy. And I think we're in that phase. He's obviously sleeping a lot. I think there's cognitive issues. The Epstein stuff, which I predicted was, Scott and I had a big argument about this. And he's like, oh, it's just another thing. I'm like, no. This is because I study, QAnon stuff and online conspiracy theories. I was like, this is the foundational wall of these people. I was not even slightly surprised Marjorie Taylor Greene got off the train. I was like, she has to, because they've suddenly realized they may be in bed with a pedophile, right? Here they are fighting it. And so I think the Epstein thing is not, and it's, by the way, it's accelerating.
It's not going away. Well, here's my question.
Prince Andrew, they arrested the prince.
I know. We have two immovable forces. We have from the public point of view, it's not going away. They're not letting it go away. They've decided, you don't decide what the public wants. The public decides what they want. This has, for all the obvious reasons, yet you now have the other side saying, that's it, no more. So where does this go? Where does this go?
I think the Epstein thing is a slow burn. I think it's a slow drip, drip, drip. And I think it gets worse and worse for him. And I think it may not be our country that investigates it. Maybe it's France. Maybe it's California. Maybe it's New York, wherever these things took place. But there's no question. One of the smarter things was to release everything. And so we're looking over here. We're looking at Casey Wasserman. Over here, we're looking at Larry Summers. Over here, we're looking at Dean Gaiman. Over here, we're looking at Howard Lutnick, I like to call him that moron, Howard Lutnick.
I know him personally, so I can't really, I can't get into
but he's a moron.
I can't, I'm not going to, I know him. I've known him for years, and
I don't know why.
Howard's got his strengths and weaknesses.
I get it, but I don't know why you'd lie so effusively.
I don't know what, I don't know what the motive was.
Just being like, sir, over here, kind of thing. But, I think, he'll have a problem with that eventually, but he just happens to be protected because the bigger fish has more problems too. And so one of the things is, Trump is sort of slipping out in the crowd, away from it. It's not as focused on him, but I think it's a problem for him. I think it remains to the end of until his dying day. Epstein is going to sit with him and be stuck with him forever. That's one thing. The other is obviously, the economy to me is at the center of everything. Is
affordability.
You cannot convince people.
That was Biden's mistake. That's Biden who took him down. I mean, he kept telling people, no, you're wrong. Things are good. Yes. And you can't tell somebody they're wrong when they're sitting at the checkout counter and they can't afford to buy the orange juice they used to be able to afford.
And I think ultimately a lot of people, I have a lot of Trump family people who like Trump. They don't like him anymore because he's just so coarse. Like the coarseness is finally, before they'd be like, oh, it's just, he's just like that. Now it's like, oh, I really don't want to listen to this.
Yeah, the other thing I see, because I'm surrounded by a lot of Trump people also, is that also the immigration thing is a lot of them are saying, no, this is not. We want to close the border. No, this is not right. I mean, it's pretty hard to be a human and watch what's going on and say no. I mean, I still have the assholes that will say to me, well, we got to get rid of. Then when you say to them, well, only somewhere between 7 and 14% are actually violent criminals. Most of them are nannies and landscapers and
well, then they get affected because you have rich friends, so they're like, wait a minute.
Well, that's what I say to them. I say, well, I guarantee you throughout your life, how about, would you be okay if you had a nanny for 14 years and she was part of your family and they took her away and they go from, there's no answer for that.
No, I think a lot of it is self-interest, and it's, the people who sort of grin and bear it with Trump is economically driven, right? Yeah. This is good for whether you're a venture capitalist and capital gains, or how it's treated, or if you're a rich person and you get a tax break, or if you're a rich person and you get, the things. But he's made these tariff missteps have been a real problem for him. And luckily the Supreme Court probably will save his ass on that. And then he could just yell at them. But they're going to do him a favor. I think, there's a lot of just feeling of like the corruption, the rampant corruption. I think rubs everybody the wrong way at every level, is probably the sort of apparent corruption. Not the apparent, the transparent.
But you have to turn, the Democrats can't make a mistake and just be pointing at Trump. You have to make corruption about they have a different standard than you have. You're getting screwed while they're not.
Right. I mean, I think Scott says that you're bound by the law, but not protected by it. And they're protected by the law, but not bound by it. And I think it does link in what we were previously talking about is like, these fucking rich people get to screw our kids, like, and make our kids isolated and feel bad about themselves. They get all the money, they get all the things. I don't get anything. And this guy's taking money here. Like, I think they do dovetail of this. And American history has this, the Gilded Age thing. Like, at some point, it's like these rich people just take everything and leave us with nothing. And I think even if you're in the middle of it, and paying more taxes than they are, you suddenly are like, no, I don't think so. You don't have to be a leftist to be like, are you fucking kidding me? And you don't have to demonize billionaires either. It's just, it's not fair. It's not fair.
You can't demonize billionaires because
I make a lot of money.
It's by the way, and also that's what drives this country. And you also, what I don't like that the Democrats are doing, you're creating another version of the other. Hate the other. So obviously they're not immigrants, but it's the same mathematical equation, which I don't like. Speaking of the Democrats,
can I just point out they have to be for something? I mean, Rahm
that's what it is.
Really sharp about this.
He's on next week. Yeah, you have to stand for what you stand. This is wrong, but this is what we're going to do.
Right, but he's listen. You should do Trump until the midterms, and then that old fucking man. Let's move on. Right, that old creepy, sleepy man. Like, no. Like, you ignore him after that and pull power away that way and say what you're for. Because ultimately, whether it was Obama or Clinton, it was not about what you were against. It was what you were for, what you're going to do. $25 minimum wage. Everyone gets free childcare. Everybody, whatever your stance happens to be.
Right. I remember I worked on the Clinton campaign in 92 and I drove around in the bus with him. We were filming all the footage and he would get out. You don't realize that the sound bite that you see on TV is the same thing they're saying all day long. He would get out and go, healthcare for everybody. We're going to tax people making more than $200,000 a year. I mean, that was it. I mean, pretty simple stuff. So who do you like? If I put you in charge of the Democratic Party now and you're the kingmaker and you're in the back room and you're smoking your cigar and you're going to figure out who you're going to push forward, who do you like?
I've just started really doing sometimes severe interviews with a lot of them. And I know a lot of them really well, right? I know Kamala very well. I know Gavin from when he was mayor, Kamala when she was district attorney in San Francisco. I spent a lot of time with Gretchen Whitmer, who I don't think is going to run, actually. I've just recently spent some time with Governor Pritzker. Super impressed with him.
I like him. I think he's got the right stuff.
He's the dad we all need, essentially. Some people often surprise me. There's a couple of people, like Wes Moore is sort of hanging around the rim, I guess, in some ways. A lot of people seem like possible vice presidential candidates too.
What do you think of Shapiro?
I like him a lot. I think if I could glom together several different candidates, I know it sounds crazy, but I think that the person, I don't want to say who's the centrist person, because I think we're done with this framing of left, right, center, like kind of thing. I think it's people who everyone perceives as being decent, fair, and for you, and not like they don't have to run against Washington, but like, here's what I'm going to do for you. This is a service business, and this is what I'm going to bring to make your life easier and your life better. And it doesn't have to be a hope thing like Obama. It doesn't have to be a Clinton, but
you do have to make people feel a certain way. I mean, that's what those two.
Right.
You got to make them feel something. I mean,
I do think it's going to be a white guy. I do. I think it will. So,
well, I don't think we're going to have a female Democratic president in our lifetime. I just don't think.
I don't. Republican.
Yeah, absolutely.
The first one would be a Republican woman, but I think probably someone who is going to make us. Who feels like a fighter, because you need that, right? So Gavin's been very good about that. He was very smart.
He's had the right cadence. He's had the right. He's hitting the right notes. I'm very torn about him.
Many people are, and there's something not quite right.
There's something that's scary. There's something that's very right, because he's so good on his feet and he's so smart, and he's got that pugilistic thing that we need. But then you go, there's something just feels
I'm
slippery.
interviewing next week. I'll tell him
Okay.
that you said that in San Francisco. And then there's the sort of basic decency of someone like Pete Buttigieg. He just reeks of decency and intelligence, right? There's that's really kind of great. You have funny. I think you need someone who's funny. Like, I think I know it sounds crazy, but we want to I think we're entering an era at post-Trump. Like, that's why I don't think Vance will win.
But that's what that's the difference between Trump and Vance, is that Trump is funny sometimes.
I said that.
He's a character. He's entertaining, where Vance is just dark and there's nothing there.
Vance is actually repugnant to voters. I don't know how else to put it, but he's like, I called him, and I think this is fair, the Cybertruck of politicians. It's like you see it and you're like, no.
Yeah.
Unless you're like a man in a middle-age crisis situation, you think it's going to work for you. But most people are like, no.
Part of it is, and it's contrasting Trump. One thing about Trump, he's authentic.
He's charming.
JD Vance, there's nothing authentic about him.
No, exactly. And I think without Trump next to him, it's sort of like, remember when Elon went to Wisconsin and lost badly despite
he was by himself. He needed Trump next to him.
You're like, oh, no, not you. And Trump, and even Trump now is problematic. He's sort of declining on lots of physically. Clearly he's got some illnesses happening. So
what do you see that tells you that?
People don't like old people, don't like aging people in public.
People, what are you seeing that tells you that, beyond doing ridiculous things where you could say he's not?
All of it. He just feels older. Like, when that happens, when you see someone, you're like, oh, wow, that person aged. The aging is very clear and happening in real time. And whether it's the hands and trying to pretend it, the bragging about how healthy he is means you're not so healthy. Yeah. That kind of stuff, I think everyone has an older parent, so they know that one.
So you kind of see it happening.
You see it happening. And so and the sleeping is like problematic.
Right.
He's very vibrant, but it reminds you less of a vibrant person than the vibrant guy in the old folks home.
Right.
Who's like screaming about pudding.
Right.
That guy. There's my mother's in one of those places, and there's a guy like that who seems
the life of the party. But
the instant I said it, you're like, oh, that guy. But he's like 5 minutes till like something bad's happening to this.
All right, let's shift gears a little bit. Obviously, you spent so much time on AI. Mm-hmm. I read a quote from you where you said the scary part of AI, it's going to be in the hands of a few straight white guys, and I'm terrified. I'm really terrified because I mean, obviously every technology has its underbelly, whatnot. It just seems, and you've also talked about how at the end of the day, it's still about the people, but I just worry. I worry that they show how they behave with social media and irresponsibility, and you take that exponentially, and you go, yikes.
Well, two things are problematic. One is earlier on, AI has been with us forever. There's lots of AI in the stuff you do every day. You don't realize it. Machine learning has been present lots and lots of, I can't even go into it. There's that, you don't even realize it's sort of like electricity. It's humming in the background. What's happened is it's taken this leap, and you see it more clearly in these chatbots or these relationship things as it started to evolve and become able to reason in a way that is not. Before it was like I search something for Google, I get the answer, but there was nothing else happening there. What's happening now is it's able to reason and talk to you, and sort of, and think a little bit. And I don't mean thinking in the way you and I think, because one of the great parts of human nature is creativity and randomness, right? That things just pop into your head.
Yeah.
I hate when tech people always say, oh, the brain is like a computer. The brain is nothing like a computer.
Yeah.
Nothing.
No.
Yeah. Nothing. It's not even close. And one of the things that the tech people tend to do is they say, let's have a frictionless experience. That's what they are looking for. That's what AI is. It's frictionless. It's sycophantic. It feels like there's nothing there, right? But it's frictionless. Life is lived in friction. It is. It just is. All the great, you're a creative person. And every time they say seamless, frictionless, you're like, that's not where the real innovation ever comes from. That doesn't mean that AI can't put together patterns and figure out new things around diseases, or make it shorter times to do testing of certain drugs that might help us, or help us with cancer and gene folding. That's all data. But when it comes to that one spark, it's never
they should all watch that Apple commercial. Here's to the crazies, here's to the
right. That's right. But it's actually true. It's actually true. Now, it's not to say that this can't be profound. And my worry in that regard is if it can solve cancer, and it might help us solve cancer.
It
It
can
can
also create a
figure out a way to create a
biochemical.
biohazard. It
Yes,
can create
yes.
a way to light the world on fire. It could create, I urge everyone to watch the Matthew Broderick movie, War Game.
I remember. I
It's
haven't
a
seen that in years.
simplistic version of what is happening, but it's absolutely on point about it learning something. And in that case, they didn't end up blowing up the world. And the last, when the
I got to watch that. I haven't seen that in years.
when the machine got self-actualized, you'll remember this. He made it play tic-tac-toe, right? Because you
Right.
can never win.
Yeah.
Like you can once you get intelligent enough to figure out tic-tac-toe,
Right.
there's no winning.
Yes.
And so what the computer finally learns, which is it's not the game. It's the answer is you don't play it. Why are you playing it? Right?
Yeah.
Like it's not to win the game. It's not to play it. And so I think one of the problems is in the early days of AI, a lot of these, when I was at dinner with a lot of these guys, they're like, we don't know what it does. They didn't know, right? They don't know why it does what it does because they don't know where the inputs are coming from because there's so much data, right? So that's one thing is I don't think they quite know where it's going, right? They always said that. And now they pretend they know.
That doesn't make me feel any better, right? Okay.
But they said it before.
Yeah.
They were like, I don't know why I did that. Like,
Yeah.
because how could you? You don't know why your wife did something. Like
Yeah.
it's the same thing, except this has enormous inputs. The other thing is, I think people pretend that it's not going to affect every single aspect of your life. And I do think like Hollywood's a good example.
Did you see that thing last night? The fight between Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise?
Yeah, it was good. It was
Yeah.
good. But a lot of them go, it's slop. It's not good. I'm like, this is not how it's going to be.
No.
It's only going to get better.
Yeah,
You're not
this
going
is
to get better.
we're on the 1 yard line of this.
Like, go look at the first Yahoo pages. Go look at
Yeah.
the first big thing on the internet was looking at coffee being made in a
Right.
lab in some technology college. It's not going to be what it is. It's like if you had started the internet or apps back in 2007 or even the 90s when I started covering it, could you have imagined Uber? No, you wouldn't have. We don't know what it's going to be. And
Yeah.
so I think one of the things but you could start to think about it. You could go, okay, Hollywood, let me do Hollywood. I was at this interesting Paramount press when they took over the company. They're all like jazz hands about AI. We're going to do AI. And I put my hand up. I go, well, how? And they're like, AI. And I'm like, yeah, okay, specifically, I'd like it specific. And they're like, AI. And I'm like, you don't know, do you? You have no fucking idea. And that's just a press release. But actually, I could think of one, costuming. They have actors come in and do costumes. They try on different things. They spend all this money doing it. Why do that if you could just take a picture of, say, Meryl Streep and put 20 costumes on her and then figure out the one that works? Yeah. Why storyboarding? Another thing that could change really drastically. And there's like a million things in the back end. Like there's a company called Runway that's doing some of this stuff that could change the economics of Hollywood completely, like in terms of making it cheaper to do things. But I'll finish on this. They can't anticipate a K-pop Demon Hunters. They can't anticipate a heated rivalry. That was rejected by all the studios.
Well, I would think so. I went to board. There's not a big enough audience for it, and yet
women.
Oh, you're kidding me? Women are dying over it. Obviously,
everybody. It's a global phenomenon.
It's a phenomenon. I haven't seen it, but
it did have an audience. Their romance novels are enormous.
Yes,
but the straight white guy in Hollywood didn't know that. But
no. Every woman I talk to about it, they say it the same way. It's the story. It's the love story. It's the love story.
But because there was, I think one of the things Hollywood's not really, and media and everything else, is a fan base is what you need. That's what drives everything now. Is it like Pivot is successful because of our fan base?
Yeah.
It is not because we're so brilliant. We're good, but it's because we are thinking about our fans. And that's how everyone should think about. That's why he did.
What's the mission statement of Pivot? What are you trying to give your audience?
I have three things. Everything I make from as a media entrepreneur, and I think I'm one of the early ones. Three things you have to be. One is useful. What is the useful thing you're doing for your audience? I think of my audience only, by the way. I don't care about anybody. I don't care about Rupert Murdoch or anybody else. Useful.
What are you giving them? What are you giving them?
What helps them get through their day? What makes them happy? It doesn't have to be useful in some way.
So I always used to say that about an ad. It's either got to inform, entertaining, make them feel something, make them understand something they didn't, give them something to take away.
3 of them. Usefulness. It has to be, this is going to help me at the office the next day. This is going to make me tell a good joke at a party. This is going to make me be a better person. This is going to make me feel better. Useful.
Yes.
Secondly, you're right. Entertaining. I say entertaining/interesting. Right? It's interesting. It's like entertaining. It's funny. It's sad. It's something. Like it's something that moves me in some way, but it has to have that. And the last thing is critical. You can't get it anywhere else.
Yeah.
You can't get Scott and Kara.
No.
You can't make it in AI. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
And once we're gone, that's that. The chemistry is gone. They can't replace it. And if you do those 3 things, I think in any media, you're great. You'll be great. And and then cost structures, but you know about that.
Yeah. Before I let you go, I'm fast. I was reading about your new show on CNN.
Yeah.
About longevity. Give me the genesis of that. I was like, duh, what a great fucking idea.
Thank you. I'm full of them. So years ago when I was a reporter at the Washington Post, some guy stole one of my ideas and took credit for it. And I was in my 20s, early 20s, and he stole it. He just outright fucking stole it. And I thought, am I going to be mad and do my lady thing or whatever? And I walked up to him. I go, don't you worry. You can have it. I have 1 million of them. You don't have it.
Good for you.
And he looked at me. I was like, see ya. I'll be up there. You'll find me up there. Yeah. So, and of course, that's exactly what happened. But so here's the deal. I was sitting at dinner with these guys, and all the tech guys wanted to live forever. Larry Ellison had an institute for longevity with David Agus, who's terrific.
It's the ultimate narcissistic thing, if you really think about it. Yeah,
it was all narcissist. First they talk about Soylent, and then they talk about body hacking, and then they talk like endless fucking night. And then it moved. Then you saw Sam Altman doing investments. Larry, Elon did. And they were all about, and then of course Brian Johnson, who I'd known from his company that he had actually before he became the guy, the blood boy essentially. And they were all so narcissistic, like, and godlike, that they wanted to be gods and live, and it was live forever. It wasn't just like, let's be healthy for a long time. And this VC came up to me and said, what's your number? And I said, what are you talking about? Like, and he's like, the number of days you're going to live healthfully. And I want to increase my number. And I thought, you narcissistic prick, what a great idea. Thank you. Like, thank you, you fucking narcissist. I hope your number is small. Right. So I think that quietly to myself. I actually might have said it to him. So I kept sticking in my head, and I thought, and then I started really doing research, and there's all this astonishing stuff happening to help the rest of us amid all this narcissism. And so I got really irritated by Peter Attia and a whole bunch of these people. There's all these like Hubermen. They were all aimed at guys like yourself. Right. It was not aimed at the rest of us.
No, people who can afford to do all these crazy things.
It wasn't affordable. Also, some of it was fucking nonsense as I started to look into the studies. Red lights. Sorry, folks.
What's a peptide, by the way? Nobody can give me a fucking answer. Nobody can give me an answer.
It's fine. Take creatine. That is actually.
I do. That's the only thing I take. I take it every day.
So I went through all the things. GLP-1s, amazing. Like, so I went through them and I'm saying, let me find out what's actually true and what's not. And I ran into Zeke Emanuel, who's one of the Emanuel brothers.
Sure, of course.
And he wrote his book called Eat Your Ice Cream, a really good guide to like how to stay healthy for longer.
Right. He's a sweet guy, Zeke.
Yeah, he is. The original title was Peter Attia's a schmuck. As it turns out, he was.
Well, we kind of saw what happened there. Right?
He's a schmuck. So, so anyway, so I thought this is really great. Like, it's all focused on a certain level of rich guy, and it should be focused at everybody else. Let's give you some straight answers about this stuff. And what can you do to help yourself live longer and be healthier as you live longer? And let's show you the cutting edge science, whether it's Jennifer Doudna at CRISPR, whether it's gene editing, mRNA technology, all amazing things are happening. And then let's show you the regular things like, look, VO2 max, important. Not everyone can do it, but here's what you can do. For example, GLP-1s, yes, groundbreaking. Yeah. Red light and hyperbaric chambers, please don't do that. Like, and here's why. And I go and do everything. I go.
How many episodes? How many episodes?
6 episodes. I took ketamine in the first one.
And how was that? How was that? By the way, I hated it. What is it? What's the feel? I never did it. I never did it.
It's not lonely. It's alone. and I don't want to feel alone. And one of the things that I'll tell you, the takeaway from this thing for longevity, everyone's like, what is the secret? By the
Connecting
way,
to people, connections to people.
Full of shit. Blue zone's full of shit.
Right.
Like, just not
Right.
true. The studies aren't right. Here's the thing. One, don't be poor. I hate to say it. That's what brings down longevity in our country, is don't be poor. The second thing, there's good things around GLP-1s and cancer research. Like, we're going to beat cancer. We are going to beat obesity. We are. And those are some of the biggest killers of people, is obesity and
you solve the obesity problem. You take care of 30% of the healthcare problems in this country.
Scientific answers. Right. The number one thing from every study, every science,
human connection. Yeah.
Brain plasticity, cognitive function, doing things that are hard for you. Like, it helps you live longer and healthier. Yeah. Obviously, exercise, sleep, and diet are important, but not nearly as important as that. And so one of the things I talk about is how dangerous chatbots are for all of us. Totally dangerous for our mentality, and totally dangerous for your cognitive thing. And so I just decided I'm going to find out and help more people. And
when's the first show?
In April.
Coming up a couple months. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is. And it's really,
good for you.
It's also fun.
I got really excited when I read about that.
Yeah, I went to Korea. Which is the longest living people.
Oh, so you're done. It's all shot.
It's all shot. Yeah. Okay. And then we'll see if we have a second season, but
I'm sure
it's really
you will.
Fun. Yeah, we'll see. I'm writing a book. I'm writing a book on it too.
Kara Swisher, I could talk to you all day. I love listening to you. I love watching you. You're one of the really good guys.
We'll do a parenting thing with Scott.
Yes.
Scott and I are going to write a parenting book, and it'll be like, listen to Kara, not to Scott.
I like that. I like that. Once again, the Pivot Podcast with our friend Scott, on with Kara Swisher. Tune into it. What's the name of the longevity show?
It's called Kara Swisher Wants to Live Forever.
Kara Swisher Wants to Live Forever. Great title. I like that.
I don't want.
That's coming in April. Thanks. I know how busy you are. I really appreciate your time.
All right. Thank you, Donnie.
Everybody, thanks for watching. If you like it, hit that subscribe button. And we love having you here watching On Brand. And just don't miss any future episodes. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We'll see you next time.